Hey everyone, my name is Toby Espinosa and I lead the ads business here at DoorDash.
Welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. Your hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V. Espan, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Hello and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm, of course, Shri, your co-host and also CRO and co-founder at Think Blue Consulting, your trusted partner in your omni-channel development journey. Get in touch with me at shri@thinkblueconsulting.co. That's CO, not COM. Please do listen to my older daughter's music at www.riaraj.com and follow Laura Raj, my younger daughter, is a member of the world's fastest growing global girls group, Cat's Eye, who, of course, now have their national program with Gap, my cell phone text messages, WhatsApp. I don't even use WhatsApp, and WhatsApp messages have been blowing up. And of course, LinkedIn messages have been blowing up. I'm joined today, of course, by my co-host and my BFF, as well as my co-founder of the CPG Guys, man also known as PVSP, who moonlights as head of industry and client engagement at Flywheel, the commerce acceleration division of Omnicom. Peter, how you doing?
Shri, you don't use WhatsApp, man? You're clearly not European enough. Like, I am in so many WhatsApp groups. Like, you and I are in the one with the ladies from the Women in Retail Media Collective. That's one. That's
about the only thing I've used.
No, but so Shri, I'm trying to figure out where I need to buy a new pair of jeans. And I don't think I'm going to American Eagle, but I'm thinking the Gap might be the place to go. What are you thinking, Shri? Is that where jeans are to be purchased?
You know, the Gap and American Eagle don't make jeans for Luddites.
No, they don't. We actually, I'm going to LL Bean.
LFB, yeah, Angler jeans, baby.
I know. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, brother.
As always, make sure you're subscribing to our podcast on your preferred listening platform where you can get our latest episodes. And even go back to consume some of the 510 plus episodes we've already published. Today's episode dives into the world of home delivery, value proposition for CPG brands, and why retailers should engage this platform to scale their growth as well. Toby Espinosa is the Vice President of Ads and Growth Services at DoorDash. In this capacity, he leads DoorDash's Ads and Promotions business unit responsible for building digital solutions to help advertisers reach all of DoorDash's audiences. Prior to his current role, Toby was VP of Business Development at DoorDash, and he was responsible for the company's largest partnerships across the restaurant, grocery, corporate, and retail categories. No better person to scale the ads business, and you'll be happy to know that I actually have a Dash Pass. Join us in welcoming to the podcast, Toby Espinosa. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. Where should I buy my jeans? I'm actually not jeans. I'm going Vuori these days. Vuori pants. They're very comfortable.
I'm still old school bonobos.
Shri has me manufacture for him custom CPG Guys sweatpants. Seriously, they are a sight to see, Toby.
That's my airport comfort pants. You can catch me with full gear, Cat's Eye, Raj, CPG Guys hat, CPG Guys sweatpants. He's not making it. And by special demand, luggages too.
We do. Strangely enough, Toby, we do have custom CPG Guys suitcases. We are it's when we roll into Vegas for a conference, everybody knows who we are.
That's local commerce. I mean, if I hopefully at some point will be bidding for access to that sweatshirt.
Here's the thing, Toby. Do you know that we're like Saturday Night Live. If you come on the podcast 5 times, you get an actual CPG Guys wool and leather embroidered varsity jacket with the logo on the back incredible. And the front. It's highly coveted.
That's incredible.
We have a friend of ours we've had on 4 times, and he keeps calling us saying, "When do I come on the 5th time?"
He wants the jacket. He needs it.
He's like, "You're keeping me in a holding pattern. This is not fair."
All right, man. We're excited to have you on the podcast, Toby. Of course, in the digital show notes of this episode, we'll include links to your LinkedIn profile and that at DoorDash Ads. So let's get right into it, man. Ready for the spectacle? Let's have some fun. So let's start with the obvious one, Toby. Walk us through your role at DoorDash Ads and how the bigger DoorDash fits within how your ads ecosystem fits within the bigger DoorDash ecosystem.
Absolutely. So thanks again for having me, gentlemen. It's super fun. I've been at DoorDash, kind of given the bio. I've been at DoorDash for over 10 years now. So 10 years plus a few months. When I started, DoorDash was doing, tens of thousands of deliveries. Now we're global across 30 plus countries. And so I've kind of seen the company grow. When we first started, we were basically a one market, so United States, really only 7-city market, delivering restaurant food. And I started as a launcher in the local markets. Fast forward till today, we have 5 major business units. We have a global business that's run out of Finland by an incredible man, Mickey. We have a grocery business, run a grocery and retail business. And then we also have a commerce platform business, which does kind of white label deliveries from anyone from Chipotle to many of the large retailers. And then the final one is our ads ecosystem. And our ads ecosystem's core job is to help members of our marketplace. So whether you're a small restaurant or a global brand like Pepsi, the ability for tools and services to grow within our ecosystem and now beyond our ecosystem using our data. So that's a little bit about us and where we fit into our overall story.
Toby, the real question of the hour is, how do the CPG guys get complimentary Dash passes?
That is the core.
Shri, you already heard him covet the jacket. I think there's a deal to be had here.
There's a deal to be had here.
Hey, Toby, thanks for joining us today. It's a pleasure to speak with you. So as we look across the broader retail media / commerce media landscape, what do you think differentiates DoorDash's offering in this space compared to traditional players like the retailers that have, fairly robust transactional data sets, or even these streaming platforms to publishers? Like, what are you bringing to the equation that you want to call out to brand advertisers?
Yeah, I think we fit. If hopefully everybody has used DoorDash, and we have 2 amazing DashPass subscribers here on the call. But I think just kind of zooming in on where DoorDash exists in the overall ecosystem and story of all of our lives. It is a place with super high intent users looking for products, whether that's, again, a pad thai or something because it's allergy season and you need to get something delivered in 30 minutes or less. That is kind of the hole that we fill. And that hole, that kind of the thing that we didn't know when we started DoorDash, 10 or 12 plus years ago, was how big of an opportunity that would be in the impulse category would be for all of us. The other thing we didn't understand is how big that impulse category would be for all of us across multiple different verticals. So think of it, I need to get a Gatorade delivered to me late night, all the way to, I now need my mulch delivered in 45 minutes or less from Lowe's because I'm doing some housework. And so that is the field in which we kind of sit. And so I would just kind of think of it as high impulse, very, very focused consumers. What that leads to is great new to brand metrics for our advertisers. We see 60+% for our sponsored product for advertisers when leveraging campaigns on our platform. And so that's kind of the core ethos for us that we see that differentiates us. The final thing I would say is just like, if we go forward 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I started playing this game when I joined DoorDash, and I would always ask our customers, whether they, again, were large national restaurants, small mom and pops, or global brands, which was, do you want to get things delivered to you slower, more expensive, and with worse quality? It's kind of like the question I would always ask. And the answer, of course, that everybody says is, why are you even asking me that question? Of course, I want things faster, better, cheaper. Well, if you digitize every store on Main Street and you have a logistics capability that now touches more blocks across the country than the mail system or UPS or FedEx, all of a sudden you take those core capabilities, go forward 10 years, and imagine a world where the kind of touch points between your local neighborhood and consumers powered by DoorDash are just getting greater and greater and greater.
The one thing that comes to mind, most brands, advertisers of the future as well for you are going to compare you to other retail media networks, right? The retail media landscape. Your primary strength in the past came from advertising within the food delivery sector, now into the consumer sector. So what types of CPG brands are seeing the most success on DoorDash ads? And also take us through why those brands. Is there a particular type of brands, categories, endemic versus non-endemic, like what non-endemic, like what's driving?
And I think the areas that are the strongest, where we see the strongest pull or product market fit ASAP, are categories where, again, this notion of now you can get the thing delivered in 30 minutes or less. It was a pipe dream, 24 months ago, 36 months ago, and now it's present. And so areas that look like that, obviously the convenience categories. So think your snacks, your top beverage items do incredibly well. The alcohol category does incredibly well with us for a multitude of different reasons. Health and wellness does incredibly well. And one other thing that we're starting to see as time goes on is that consumer preferences in the way that they shop from a grocery perspective is also changing. The traditional model of I want to get one top up and I'm going to get it on every 2 weeks or within a month has radically changed. And that basically, if you what we kind of think of as the decompartmentalization of the grocery basket, that basically means now we're also seeing spikes across all the core center aisle products that otherwise folks have thought of as kind of the going to the traditional retail media networks on top of the major grocery players. So I'd say that the trend line for every category is moving much more towards speed, selection, and of course price. But within that, to your question, the ones that are doing the best happen to be in these areas that the advent of getting something delivered in 30 minutes or less is really, really powerful. Especially like imagine it's allergy season again. I go back to this example. It's allergy season and I need this now. There's no compromise.
Not just food and bev, but I want to jump into that just a little bit. Is there a distinction between convenience items like ice cream and candy, perhaps late at night, versus a basket grocery for 60 or 75 bucks?
And if I could add to that before you jump in, Toby, I have to imagine, and you can probably answer this in your question, moving into all these different verticals also has a balancing effect on the day part usage of your service that makes your delivery members greater opportunities to do business as opposed to bunched up around lunch and dinner.
It's a good comment on how new categories are actually incremental or accretive to the overall marketplace and logistics system, because many of them are not just peak dinner or peak lunch. It rounds out the breakfast and many other things. But I'm going to go back, Sri, to your question on how we think about basket size. But the other trend line, as I mentioned, is kind of the decompartmentalization of the basket, right? Which is I want to get a top up right now. And then that top up basically starts to build the long-term basket within the DoorDash ecosystem across many different orders. So the way I would describe this is what we've seen is maybe I come onto the platform and I start with Thai. Maybe I come onto the platform and I start for allergy season. But because you saved me in this moment, now I'm going to say, oh, well, I can also order this top up. An example for our household is, well, now I can get my milk for my coffee tomorrow morning. Otherwise I wouldn't have milk. So you start building the basket that way. But over time, we have seen time and time again that if the quality of the product is good and the price is right, consumer will continue to build that basket. And so the long-term trend line is that it's an opportunity for everybody. And if we look at some of those core grocery CPGs, probably the thing that would surprise them the most is the size of sales that we're now doing for them on top of the growth of their category. And while most folks still think of us as, again, convenience, we are now really here with groceries.
I've had the luxury of working with you all in past roles, specifically in General Mills. So I'm aware of the Dash Mart. So is the growth primarily coming from the Dash Mart?
Dash Mart definitely is a major retailer on our platform, but we are also adding a bunch more. So kind of your largest from Safeway, Albertsons, Sprouts, and discussions with many of the other large, Ahold, many of the others that are now on our platform offering.
All right. So you're doing last mile delivery for those grocery retailers. That's a great addition to round out the ability to deliver meaningful trip types to your audience. So I'd love to understand, Toby, what best in class looks like. Maybe a campaign or a partnership example for our audience would probably help to illustrate this from your perspective. What does DoorDash do that brands seem to gravitate towards?
So I think for us, it is we start where we start with, again, the overall consumer promise, which we talked about, very fast growing consumer marketplace, high quality. So we start there. When we onboard an advertiser, we always want to ask them, how do they define success? And of course, you all know this, but every major brand out there has their own slight nuance on the way they think about success on our platform. So we onboard them. We want to make sure that we're speaking their language. And then we want to drive success for them. Now, for us, as I kind of mentioned, we are, again, a platform where we have an incredible consumer who's here in this very incremental moment. So where we like to focus is new to brand metrics and better targeting over time. So just to give you a sense of what that means, if we dive into a partnership like Unilever, where we have a great relationship yes, the kind of baseline relationship started with ice cream. It's now grown on top of that. And of course, now they're separate businesses, but it started with ice cream and now has grown separately. We wanted to layer on a capability to do targeting at specific day parts. What has that done? That has provided, of course, higher incrementality for them from a sales perspective, but it has also jumped up their new to brand metrics in a way, that's going above that 60+% number that we talked about before. And so that kind of can give you a sense and encapsulate a little bit about what types of brands we like to play with, how we like to meet advertisers where they are in terms of how they think about success. Make sure that we build data and capabilities to help them there, and then monitor and push the envelope of that success given capabilities like better targeting and specific day parts.
I have to imagine you bring very different signals to brand advertisers than they get from traditional retail media networks, and those allow them to target audiences in different ways than they would by just seeing the exact grocery product that they purchased in a transaction.
And that, Peter, don't steal my thunder. I got that coming for him. We're going to wait it out. Let's dig some more before we get there. So let me remind the audience that we're speaking with Toby Espinosa with DoorDash. So now let's get back to a little bit of this 175 plus retail media networks, proliferation. Brands don't have budgets for everybody. There's holy war and debate between above the line, below the line media budgets, trade budgets. So how is DoorDash doing things differently? And how do advertisers look to you as an additional opportunity to what other RMNs may already be offering?
So I think, again, kind of going back to the core capabilities, we're already at some semblance of scale, right? So DoorDash is a global company with 30 plus countries, right? So we're in the same arena as, the largest retailers in the world. So I start with the baseline premise of if one has to play anywhere, you have to play on us. We are at scale. That's kind of the first place. The second thing is, once we're there, then the question is exactly who are you trying to activate or work with within our ecosystem? Again, a high impulse category, delivering in 30 minutes or less. What that has enabled is that we have tons of categories that are growing multitudes faster than that market anywhere else, right? So think about your core soup market, how fast that's growing in the US on an annual basis relative to how fast it's growing on DoorDash. DoorDash makes it look like the world. That makes it look like soup was just introduced to the world for the first time. So we kind of then ground in, again, fast growth, high impulse categories. And then the final portion is we bring capabilities that allow those brands to do things that are differentiated. So I'll start again. When you have those two things, you add in this metric, which is new to brand, that also drives higher incrementality to the advertiser. But then what are some capabilities that we took that to try to get those things to grow faster? About 2 months ago, we announced an acquisition of a company called Symbiosis AI. Symbiosis is the technology provider, the software provider that powers offsite for a bunch of retail media networks across the broader ecosystem. Why does that matter? Well, now, if you could imagine, you're running an on-site platform that is growing super fast. On top of that, you have great new to brand metrics, and now you can leverage our data in a bunch of different touch points across Meta, YouTube, TikTok, et cetera, and drive that consumer back full funnel. What does that do? It pushes new to brand metrics up even higher. And so just to round that whole thing out, we are at scale, right? We are one of the largest sources of digital sales in the world. Second thing is we're growing, which drives high new to brand metrics for our advertisers. And third, we have new technological capabilities that allows you, the brand advertiser, to do things that you cannot do anywhere else across the retail media.
My phone must have had a premonition I'm talking with DoorDash, because look what flashed by on the screen. Chase DashPass membership, which I told you I have. I get $10 off my groceries in retail. So guess who's going to order groceries on DoorDash today?
Thank you, Shri. Thank you.
I'm not making this up, guys. Look at it.
I love it. I love it.
It's going to be on LinkedIn.
Oh, Shri. So now we've got some brand advertisers that are interested. I think it would be good to also dimensionalize what working with DoorDash ads entails. What is the customer experience? And I'm going to go back to my familiarity more with the traditional retail media. There's a managed service approach. There is a self-service approach. What does DoorDash offer to advertisers that want to work through your platform?
Yeah, we are in the evolution of, I would say, from pure managed service, blocking and tackling with human beings, making an evolution. So today we have a brand, an ad manager. We work directly with folks like Flywheel, where we try to meet brands where they are from where they would like to activate. We like to now reach brands where they are from how they would like to activate data. And so the way we think about this is, how do you measure success? It is different than us. I can talk all day about new to brand metrics and iROAS and all these types of things. But if that's not the way that your internal teams communicate, or how I like to describe your internal referee within your brand, right? The person that says, yes, DoorDash is doing well, let me unlock more funding for you. If we don't align to that, depending on the customer, we're not going to be successful, and neither are you. And so we meet the customer if they are from an activation point, whether that's our CPG brand manager, whether if it's APIs directly integrated into companies like Flywheel. We then also like to make sure that we are meeting you where you are from what defining success means. And that could also be different within brands, right? Depending on the team, whether it's the shopper or e-commerce team to brand teams, it could also be very different. So providing data and making sure we match there. And then above and beyond that, making sure that that we then provide all that information back in real time as much as possible, so you can optimize campaigns for what you're trying to accomplish, which is one-click activation of campaigns, depending on your bespoke definition for success, and bringing insights to our customers live time so that they can work faster. I think most of us and many of the folks in the space today sometimes make our customers' lives a little bit harder than they should be to access the growth that we're all trying to help folks get. So,
Toby, I'd also like to get a little bit of the world of actual campaigns, managed service, self-service. How's the experience? Building a campaign, content, is AI involved, etc.?
So today we again in our campaign manager, it's pretty big. It's what I would call kind of, we're in the earliest innings of this. We pull in your catalog to make sure you understand what's actually selling within our ecosystem. That can be pretty complex because that catalog sits across multiple different retailers. We want to make sure that the CPG can kind of overlay their own understanding of their catalog above and beyond what they have across so that's kind of like the first step. We think of our CPG brand manager as really the home by which these brands can actually create a touch point with DoorDash for the first time. Many of them, if you kind of think about it, really didn't understand or know the type of sales that they're doing across our ecosystem, because those sales are flowing through other retail partners. And so that's kind of the first step. Then once we get you in, then we like to start to provide the brands with insights within that ecosystem. And then very simple, and then growing over time in granularity, abilities to activate different campaigns. So sponsored products, which is kind of our headliner, sponsored brands, which is a little bit more in depth of a product tool, our banner advertising, which gets you impressions across the 30, tens and tens of millions of shoppers on the DoorDash ecosystem every month.
Toby, we wouldn't want to minimize what you said about the catalog. That can be a Herculean effort when you think about how many different retailers do you have in your platform. It's not just about having the UPC. If everybody had the UPC, that's really powerful, but a lot of them don't. And so your ability to match the catalog can be challenged, and brands want to see where their products are being sold. So once you're able to do that and do that at scale, that's something that has incredible value to brand advertisers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just getting a baseline of what things look like. And then, as you can imagine too, if you're running a campaign, but there's out of stocks, let's say, for example. And so how good is your out of stock data from a quality standpoint? And so we're working all of these angles as fast as we possibly can. I mean, to put it into context, our CPG business is just a little bit over 2 years old. And so we're again, just in the earliest innings here, but we have a big team and we're...
Yes. Shri, that out of stock issue, that's huge. If you disappoint a consumer by saying, I'm going to sell you a product and it's not in stock, that's not good for DoorDash. It's not good for the retailers, and that will reflect in customer sentiment. So I see as having very accurate in-stock levels to be essential for a positive customer experience.
No doubt in my mind, Peter. They actually leave platforms, leave retail, leave grocers for a stocking issue. So PBSP wanted to understand KPIs, performance metrics, signals, and I asked him to hold off for just a brief 10 minutes. Well, guess what, Toby? We're at the moment now. So what KPIs do you consider most critical while evaluating ad success at DoorDash? I'm sure brands have their own ask. The words of the year have been new to brand and incrementality. While it's hard to get someone to explain to me incremental what, because something could be incremental on a given platform, but it could not be incremental to the brand, yet people keep telling me incrementality. So we'd love to know what those KPIs are, and then perhaps back them up with some examples of how data insights have directly influenced campaign adjustments.
Yeah. So where we started again is in our kind of power alley. So the first, again, just back to basics, is making sure that we have a baseline on sales. What is our baseline of sales across different SKUs? So that's really like where we start a relationship with our brands. And then are we seeing what we kind of deem as quality for all the things we talked about, so out of stocks, et cetera. So that's kind of the first baseline place. The second thing that we did was, where do we believe that our platform over indexes given all the things we talked about, right? Such as highly impulse categories, a lot of brand new consumers, DashPass users who are growing and growing and growing. And so where we thought that we would play the best is, again, that new to brand metric, which basically just gives you a sense of the incrementality of the platform. Because if you don't trust, again, like you said, Shri, incrementality at the campaign level, and you don't really know how to attribute overarching media above and beyond the retail media network, which is in a closed ecosystem, one easy way or one proxy that we felt like would definitely pass the sniff test is, well, hey, there's a certain set of users that are on the DoorDash platform. How many of those folks are new to your brand within the DoorDash ecosystem? Forget all other things, but just clearly in the DoorDash ecosystem, especially because the DoorDash ecosystem and those consumers, as we've said, continues to grow with order frequency over time. And so that was kind of our first core metric. We've now reached, and then we started working much more closely on iROAS once some of our larger advertisers really have been pushing us heavily on that as kind of a common metric across different platforms. Again, we do well there because the overall ecosystem is growing fast. So that's another place that we do well. The final one, and it's much more nuanced, is, as you well know, Shri, General Mills versus Kraft versus a bunch of other places versus Mondelez will have a different definition internally of what success means. And so that's really where we are today. So tell us how you think about growth given XYZ cut? Do you focus on category share? Do you care about category share at the merchant level, or do you just think about broader brand reach, et cetera? And now we're bringing that into the conversation with our advertisers and making things move. Tactically, I'll talk about one of the largest brands in the world that we're working with, who has a very, very specific definition of success that I have never seen across any other platform. The only retailers that know it are us and the other 2 or 3 largest in the country. Your traditional RMNs, your Walmarts, your Krogers of the world. And with the definition of success for that retailer, which we learned 6 months ago, we're the final on the CFO's desk, right? And again, we talked about this. What is the way in which you describe winning? And then who is the referee who decides to unlock funds? And what we're seeing is more and more the referee, in many cases, especially with larger brands who are not growing as fast, is that these things are ultimately getting onto the CFO's desk and they're making the call. So describing both the metric that they care about in a way that they care about it, and then also showcasing to a very financially oriented person, whether if it's revenue ops or truly the CFO, making sure that we're providing value-added incentives to make.
Kudos to you, Toby, for understanding that the CFO, increasingly the board of directors too, are making decisions against investing in retail media. It's no longer the shopper marketing manager. It is moved up, frankly, even beyond the desk of the CMO or the VP of advertising, and that you're tailoring your measurement to the decision-making process of those stakeholders is a testament to why you're going to be an important part of a marketing plan going forward. So to that end, let me just close out with this question. As you look at a lot of those brand advertisers, they may not have seen the value yet and invested against DoorDash. What advice do you give them to get started, those consumer packaged goods manufacturers, to leverage your digital advertising platform for growth?
Yeah, I mean, I start with a very fun, basic question, which is ask your family members, ask yourself, ask your daughters who are now global stars going across the world in the top performing thing. Ask their friends, ask your cousins, your nephews and nieces, and just ask them, on average, are you using on-demand platforms like DoorDash more or less over the last 18 to 24 months? And the funny thing is, if you ask those top folks across the board, time and time again, I cannot tell you how many stories I have of I will sit with a CMO or a CFO or a CEO, and they'll say, "Oh, DoorDash, we haven't actively started investing with you yet, but I use it every day to get my coffee delivered." And then I ask myself the simple question, which is like, well, if you use it every day, then you should probably show up here. So first, I'd ask myself that question. If the answer to that question is yes, the trend line is going up, then it's how should I activate? And of course, it's getting set up with folks like me. Of course, my email is very simple. It's Toby, Toby @DoorDash.com. Please send me an email to get started if that's the easiest way. Or if you already have an existing relationship, asking the question, how are my sales doing? How am I trending over time relative to other platforms? And can we get started by doing a test together? And we'll make sure that we will reach you where you are, whether that is, I just want to get a baseline view of how things are looking. I want to understand catalog, or I am in the midst of a growth crisis and I want to drive share at a specific retailer. Whatever it is, we are here for you, and we'll be able to do something to make sure that we continue to earn your trust over time. One of the things that's interesting, just like our consumers, I think of every one of these brands as these relationships are decades and decades long. And so as long as we're just making the trend line work better, we're adding services for you, and we keep proving to you that we can drive some semblance of growth, then the future is bright and our relationship will be great.
You know what disappointed me there, Peter? He referred to the top people, my kids, some superstars, some CFOs, CEOs. He never said the CPG guys.
I said the CPG guys earlier, and I referenced your I referenced your daughters. I know that they're DoorDash fans.
We believe that children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Oh, sorry, I'm going into song.
He's giving his age away. But
it's definitely showing my age, Sri.
Anyway, what a terrific conversation. Let me now thank our audience for listening to this wonderful episode. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite listening platform. It informs us how we're doing, as well as if we're having the right conversations with the right folks like we did today with Toby. To all of you, thank you from Peter and me who make this show happen. To all our sponsors, whether this podcast or parties, events, hosted dinners, having us at panels, thank you from Peter and me. Peter, always fun doing this episode over episode, 515 plus times with you. What is your single biggest takeaway today?
So I would say that the thing that really resonated with me is the fact that at DoorDash, their ability to leverage high impulse category opportunities across multiple verticals from groceries to DIY is resulting in tremendous growth faster than what the market is experiencing. And that brings to brand advertisers a very valuable audience, the new to brand consumer. And given that DoorDash is one of the largest sources of digital sales in the world, that's pretty powerful. You know, Sri, I was just perusing before we started on the call today, the latest Q2 on-demand performance update from Flywheel, and right there at the top of the list in terms of revenue, in terms of gross merchandise value, and in growth change, it's DoorDash. You know, they're delivering against their promise. The numbers back that up. It's not just words. So I'm excited for a brand to think of this platform to target and acquire new to brand consumers. What a huge opportunity.
The growth in audience is obviously now here. So I'm going to refer to a different one. And it's how Toby closed this episode out. I'm using DoorDash. The frequency of use is up. I'm a CFO or a CMO. I'm using it several times a day, once a day, several times a week, whatever the case might be. Then why are you not on the ad platform representing one of the largest brands in the world that you represent, whoever you might be, right? Like, at least get curious, ask, get to know, and you can decide if it's right for you or not. But hey, Peter, I'm going to use the word again. Don't be that Luddite from yesteryears of the in-store business that thinks digital is like strange and crazy and stuff. It's time to get with the program. That's as easy as it gets. Toby, thank you for joining us today, man. That was fun.
Thank you so much, Sri. Thank you so much, Peter. It was really fun.
That's a wrap of this episode of the CPG Guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.